Hi, welcome back to another episode of.
Dad, I love you, but.
I'm Shamik.
And I'm Paresh.
Welcome back, Episode 2.
Yeah.
I,
I guess we're rolling, huh?
I guess so.
Yeah. Yep. So what's going on with you?
What's going on with me?
You finished your move?
I did, yeah. I finished my move last week.
Okay.
I'm still settling in a little bit, but yeah, I've been at my new place for about a week now, so that's good. It's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah. Today's our we're recording on our New Year. So
Right, yeah. So it's like new beginnings and new fun.
Exactly. New beginnings.
So yesterday was celebration of Diwali. What did you do?
We were at the same party, Dad.
Yes, we were.
Yeah, you don't need to pretend. No.
Yes.
No, yeah, I was there. I was hanging out with my friends. You were hanging out with your friends. You know?
Yeah, it was good. It was nice to catch up. It's been a while since the group got together, and it's good to catch up with everybody, and talk about some serious issues and some non-serious issues.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, we get together pretty often, more than you guys.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So, what was going on? How's everybody doing? How are all the kids doing? Or should I say young adults now?
Kids. Yes.
You still call them kids, right?
Well, we're 27. I'm 27.
Yeah.
I'm turning 27 soon. So.
Yes.
So, they're doing good. It's actually interesting. I was actually reminded about a topic that we often discuss in the office, which is that we struggle sometimes with getting institutions to respond to us. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Do you want to give a little background for our listeners?
Well, in fact, first, I actually want you to tell the incident that you guys heard about, that was shared in the group, and then I can kind of relate it to what we've been talking about. I think that would be a better order. What do you feel?
I feel that you should tell us a little bit about.
As you know, that we are a financial advisory firm here, and being a financial advisory firm, we've on one hand we work with clients, and on the other hand we work with institutions, whether it be insurance carriers or whether it be platforms which host our services, etc. And what we found was that, as soon as the pandemic hit, a lot of the companies felt that business was going to plummet, and in a real massive proactive action, they started laying off staff, just thinking that business is not going to happen. We should protect our bottom line, and they started getting rid of staff. But the pandemic trailed out after a while. There was work from home, and business began picking up. And when business began picking up, they did not have the people to take care of service. And when that started happening, two things happened simultaneously, actually. On one hand, they didn't have the staff, so they had to rehire, but they were not getting the same people, so they had to rehire and retrain. But the bigger thing that happened was the entire service workforce had shifted from an office space to a work from home space. And when that happened, you see what happens is when when you've trained together and you're sitting together, your supervisor's behind you, you're listening to things which others are talking about when they're on calls or when they're sharing with you at meal times or across a coffee table, etc. Or a quick chat with your supervisor, and you get what's going on. And that kind of enhances the community learning that you have as a team. Now, when those kind of things have gone missing, the customer service levels have started falling down. Often we find, as we've discussed, we found that there are institutions which don't have the memory, the institutional memory, the historical memory of how to tackle certain things. And at times we found that we got wrong information, literally wrong information. As an example, if we had to do an account in which we wanted to make a beneficiary change, and it was a particular type of account. So we would call and say, this type of account, this is the account number, and the client wants to make a beneficiary change. Send us the right forms. And they would send us forms. We'd get them executed from the client. After we submitted them, the team receiving those forms would then tell us, oh, no, these are not the correct forms. You need to do these forms. So now it's like egg on our face. We have to go back to the client, get it signed again, time lag, time delays. And that's just one part of this whole equation that is happening, that has happened out there according to me. So we are really at times struggling, especially with certain institutions, to get the job done, So that's the conversation that you and I have been having about service levels deteriorating at institutional level.
Yeah, absolutely, and I feel that personally because I've been working with quite a few institutions, and I feel honestly sometimes people are just passing the buck to like the next person. I've gone through a chain of 3 or 4 people where I'd be like, can I get this done? And somebody would be like, no, actually you need to speak to this person. And then I'll talk to them and they'll be like, no, I'm sorry, actually you need to speak to this person. And then it'll be like, no, I'm sorry, actually you need to speak to this person. And then whatever, eventually I speak to the right person. And then I go back to that same person for a similar piece of work. And they say, no, like, actually, I can't do this. I need to talk to my supervisor. And then nothing happens. Then nothing happens. It's quite frustrating because it's so hard to get a hold of somebody. And I feel personally, there's one company that we work with where they have a rotating door of assistant for one person. I swear they've gone through like 3 in the past 2 years. And I don't know who to CC when I'm emailing this guy, and it's so confusing, but it's quite interesting because I'm hearing, like I say, Dad, I love you, but I think it's interesting that you are bringing in the work from home paradigm about it, because I don't necessarily agree with that based on what I've heard. But I could see why, it might be a factor. But I heard some interesting stuff recently. And
so what do you want to do first? You want to take the interesting stuff, or you want to take the stuff about the but by telling me why you don't agree with me on my work from home thing? So either way, whatever you want to take first.
I'll tell you about the interesting stuff first, because
okay.
So I heard 2 stories. Mm-hmm. Actually, maybe even 3, if I jog my memory a little bit. But I heard 2 stories about people leaving the company,
mm-hmm.
and nobody is being hired to replace them.
Okay.
Yeah. And not just like a little bit. I'm talking about like a department is laid off, and mm-hmm. nobody is hired to replace them. And the current manager has to head 2 departments, and their managerial duties are being passed on to their subordinates. And out of 7 subordinates, 4 have left. There's only 3 of them. So they're doing the work of their own work, another person's work, and now they're getting managerial duties. And now because there's new hires coming in, they also need to train people. So That's the story that I'm hearing on the other side, right? Which is that, people are leaving and quitting, but nobody's hiring a replacement. And even if they are hiring a replacement, it's not fast enough. And I think obviously in that kind of situation, I would expect to see a drop in the quality of service.
Yeah, but so the question then becomes is, what is the price an organization paying for that drop in quality of service? If the organization is not paying a price for whatever reason in terms of quality because of the quality of service, then they'll continue to do that, I mean, how is, well, you're looking at it from the perspective of the organization, that the organization is short staffed. So that would be an example. Like we the other day I called. I think it was one of the staff people. They called somebody, and they said we need this done. So that person picks up the phone and says, "Oh yes, I know this is an action that needs, but I'm not the right person for it. Let me transfer you to the right person." And then when they transfer you, it goes into a black hole of hold time. Sometimes 30, sometimes 45 minutes, sometimes even more. So the question then becomes is that what is the price that the institution is paying for this type of action? So let's take our end, our business. We are a small business. And at times it may appear that if we do not give the necessary service, we can be replaced. Till the other larger institution feels the same way, till they feel a drop in service, till they feel the reviews are affecting them, till there is mass exodus, things will not change. I mean, I'm going to give you this example from the political landscape just now, but please let's not divest at all into that. It's just for an example, that recently there was the case of one of the major publications of our country, and they did not do something that was expected of them. Their staff wanted them to do something, and they did not do it. And what they had is two responses which happened. They had a large set of resignations from their staff, okay, and they lost 200,000 subscribers. Now that is punitive. Now from a 2.4 million, from what I understand, from 2.4 million base, you lose 200,000. That's a large percentage to lose, and that kind of starts hurting you. So if the place where this is affecting, the place where this is kind of, where you said, the staff, the division was reduced and more people had to do more work, till they're punished for it or in some way affected by it, we cannot really, they will not really be worried about it,
I would agree. And I mean, I think, and I'm glad that people are starting to put their foot down on this. But the stories that I've heard, the people that were saying this, they were not happy about it, and they were starting. I was saying that you should start polishing your resume and look at other places, because you need to start looking for because you can't keep doing this. Like, you're going to burn yourself out. You have to take care of yourself. And beyond that, like, I feel that if that keeps happening, then that is one way that those corporations can really be pressured, when their good talent goes away.
That could be the case. There is also another side to it. Currently, 70% of those who are seeking jobs feel that the job market is not suited for them to find an opening. So we are in a situation of lower unemployment than ever before in our history. We also have one of the largest job creations going on post-pandemic. Having said that, most of it is kind of just a refill of the things that happened in the pandemic. So the gap that happened in the pandemic, the jobs that were lost, a lot of them came back, and then we've added some, correct? But still, now we are finding that post-pandemic effect of job openings being there and the job seeker controlling the market rather than the person who's offering the job, that is kind of tilting back in another direction. And with that kind of market situation, it may be hard for somebody to really find the right opening. I mean, it's a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say that anybody should. If you are in that kind of situation, I wouldn't say that you should quit your job and start looking for one. I would always say that you should be looking for a new job while you're still working. And I know it. Believe me, I know you work and then you're really tired and you don't want to do it. But I think that if you really are in a burnout situation where you feel burnout is coming on, that you need to spend a little bit of that time and find another and start looking now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. In a way, sometimes we can say that the probably one of the biggest sins is just hanging on, and being being just at one spot, not moving forward.
Do you feel that loyalty is punished nowadays in corporate America?
I do not believe so. I do not believe so. And at the same time, okay, so now there's a distinct difference between corporate America in general and also corporation by corporation.
Oh,
So what we
absolutely.
may be saying, may be different for different businesses. But let me put it to you in the context of some of the things that I have been hearing, okay, in general. So there is a fact that the amount of money in over the last 30 years, the amount of money that is earned by the top management has gone up many-fold as compared to what the rank and file is earning. Correct?
Right,
We've heard
absolutely.
that. We've seen all of those statistics and all of those numbers out there. So now, but there is another major shift. The compensation of the top people is dependent on the stock price,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of their compensation comes from incentive performance of the stock price. Correct?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, if that is the case, then often at times laying off people becomes a solution to cutting costs and getting that immediate bump up in profits, which kind of helps the people who are there to get their immediate pay. And that may be detrimental to the long term health of the organization. But then at times it is like, who's thinking about what? That's the whole question. So when we say that, loyalty towards the core, is loyalty punished? But on the contrary, is the person punishing loyal enough, to that business,
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that you say that it might be detrimental to the long-term health of the company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this reminds me of like of the Infinite Game. Have you heard
Yes.
Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game?
Yes, I have heard of that.
The basic theory is like this: is that there are two types of games: finite games and infinite games. Finite games are played with a specific end goal, and infinite games are played where the goal is to stay in the game.
Right.
Right? The way you said that, hey, these people might be focusing on loyalty to the stock price instead of loyalty to the corporation itself. Do you feel like they're playing a finite game versus an infinite game?
Again, that's a very loaded question, but I do believe that there might be a lot of businesses playing the finite game.
Mm-hmm.
There is also another fact that somehow or the other, the stock market and the investors, institutional investors themselves, seem to reward this behavior. I mean, the moment the business announces layoffs, the prices seem to go up. So they are rewarding that behavior, right? Now, when they are rewarding that behavior, that means that they're encouraging the management to take those steps. So it seems like there's a whole ecosystem that seems to be based on this whole premise that get more productivity, get more efficient, keep on cutting people, get automation, get like bots to answer the question, and things like that. I mean, so I was today, and I want to compliment this brand for this. I called I'm traveling tomorrow, as you know, right? And I'm going to Atlanta, where I'll be staying in the Marriott there.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay, and I called them because I needed. There was a mistake in my reservation, my mistake in making the reservation, and I had an extra day on, and I wanted to change it. So I called the hotel, and I got I got a bot first, and the bot tried to make me go through a couple of hoops, but they very quickly, that bot then got me to the front desk. And yes, I had to wait. So the front desk, there's a lady at the front desk. She was Debbie, and she was very kind. And she picks up and she says, "Just give me a few minutes." And then I had a hold time of about 3 to 5 minutes, and then after that,
That's not so bad.
that's not so bad. She came back, but I knew that someone had picked up and that someone was going to come back. It's not like that person had said, I'm going to transfer you to somebody, and then you don't know where in the black hole you've gone. You know?
Exactly.
So she said she came back on the line herself, and she took care of my request, confirmed everything, helped me with tomorrow some travel questions that I had about getting to the place itself. And so there can be a human element added into the automation. But what happens at times is that when the backup of the human element is not done adequately, then that's where the challenges happen. And then the question becomes, is that who is going to hurt these businesses? So that's the question. And in certain businesses, you can be hurt fairly quickly. In certain businesses, they are monopolistic in their behavior and they can get away with things. So yeah, well, it's a loaded question, but I think it's got to do primarily, in my opinion, with this whole ecosystem of rewarding this behavior that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think even in our previous episode, you spoke about this, where you felt that people who invested capital were rewarded disproportionately to the people who actually put in the effort. And I don't know, did you feel like that's the same idea?
Similar idea, but here we are talking about people who are working within the organization. So we are talking about an organization that has, like, let's say 7 or 12 layers from the bottom to the top, and now we're talking about how the bottom 6 layers are getting compensated versus how the top 6 layers are getting compensated. And end of the day, the CEO's pay is a very large proportion of the growth in the stock price. I mean, you heard the other day that Tesla reported earnings, right? Mm-hmm. And Tesla reported lower sales but better net revenue. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when Tesla reported better net revenue, and on that single day, Elon Musk's net worth went up by about $20 billion. Okay. So now what I'm trying to tell you is that the top is directly affected by the stock price change. Now, not that Elon Musk's net worth went up because they cut people or they laid off people. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that he was able to report better margins. And this thought that better margins can come in immediately due to layoffs gives the CEO the respite that, okay, the stock price is now steady, and he can then or it's going back up again, and then he can plan on the other things. So I think it's a, right, wrong, or otherwise, this seems to be the behavior out there just now.
Yeah, absolutely. And to bring it back to your point about monopolies and stuff like that, it's so hard for there to be a competitor, right? Unless there's like a big paradigm shift, right? Like competitors are few and far between for some of the top companies and such like that, right?
Yeah, and I would, again, we would digress from our topic on hand, but I would say the present Federal Trade Commission and her chair seem to be trying to take action in that front. I don't know. I don't want to go into the rights, wrongs of it. There are people on both sides. One side saying that she's taking it too far ahead, and there are people on the other side saying that it's necessary to keep these large businesses in check to prevent monopolistic situation. Again, I'm not going to go into the right, wrong of it, but you're exactly hitting it on the head. But I want to go back to that one thing you said. You said a couple of incidents. One, you talked about this shrinking of the size. What else did you hear?
Yeah. The other incident I heard was, in essence, somebody was basically slated to be promoted, mm-hmm. but the director, they have been for the past year doing the work of their direct superior, okay. who's been gone, and so really they should be promoted to that level, but they're not being promoted. The director of that entire department came from a different team. Basically, their company has 2 different teams. And what's going on is that that individual, that director has gone on maternity leave, and the person who's replaced her is from another team, and that individual is promoting everybody on their team instead of somebody on this team, you know? And so you have, on one side, you have people who are completely underqualified for being promoted so high, and on the other side, you have people who are doing the work of their superiors who should be promoted into that role, but they're not being promoted. You know?
Yeah, these kind of things happen in corporates all the time. But I would like to kind of switch a little back to the service element. You see, these kind of errors, when they happen, there tends to be organizational self-corrections also happening, in the sense that the levels of the organization fall, somebody comes to know what's going on, and these things tend to self-correct. But what we are talking about here earlier, when we were talking about what happened to us in terms of service, is that there is a systemic desire that this is less productive. I'll give you one example because we are running short on time. I was talking to a friend of mine who works for BP at a pretty senior level as an engineer. What he told me was that if they have to propose money for maintenance, then it's met with like huge resistance. Whenever they want to ask for money for capex, then that goes through a lot faster, because capex would go to revenue.
What does capex mean? I know what it means, but
capital expenditure.
Which means what?
Which means investing into a newer project which will help increase the revenue of the business or the production of the business.
Yep.
What I'm trying to tell you here is that there is a sense that element is not good, and how much can we get away with? That's what's happening out there.
I would agree so. I mean, I don't think that, but I think that sort of mentality is very common in today's world. And yeah, that's
yeah, we don't know what's going to be the result, but I guess time will tell where who gets punished for what they do. And I guess there'll be people who will be takers of the lower service for a lower cost, while there'll be people who will be takers of the enhanced white glove services, and everything in between. So we continue to try to add productivity without losing the human element.
I think that's an admirable goal. I think that's an admirable goal.
Yes. So this was fun to talk about, and I hope that your friends find the space that they're looking for.
Yep.
And looking forward to chat with you on some other issues for the younger generation in the coming days.
Absolutely. All right. We'll see you shortly.
See you shortly. Take care. Bye.